In this video, I'm going to show you my whole seed starting setup for my lights, my heat mats, my shelving units, how I hook it all up. And we're also going to take care of some cuttings that we took last fall of some fig and some elderberries that we've had overwintering in our refrigerator. Also some willow oak seeds that we're hopefully going to be able to get to sprout. And we'll talk about how I do my seeds to save space. And one of those ways is I do a seed roll. And we're going to take some of the seeds that I started a few weeks ago and we are going to put them into a seed roll because we need to save a little space. Let's get started. We're going to check in on our sweet potato slips too.
First off, I needed more lighting. You don't have to buy any special lights. Any LED shop lights would work just fine. I like these from Harbor Freight. They're 5,500 lumens. All you need is about 3,000 to 5,000 lumens, but I prefer at least 5,000. So let's get home and get these set up. As you can see, I've got a mess here. So let's jump in, get this cleaned up. I've had this mat here for years, but all it does is catch dirt, so I'm going to get it out of here. Does so much help. He's my little buddy. I've just been stashing all these little seed trays on this bottom shelf over the winter, and it's time to get them all out, get them cleaned up a little bit, and find them a new home. And I also noticed that some of my trays were cracked. I threw a bunch of them away, so I took a little field trip and picked up some new ones. So I got me some twine. I like to use that jute string in the garden. I tie up things with it. And got me some pots like I needed them. Got me a nice little watering can and my new trays. I needed those desperately. All right, let's go get started on getting some of these lights hung. I have just added these lights a little at a time. I pick up a couple every year, and over the years it's really added up. I've had 2 lights on each shelf, so this year I wanted to add an extra light to a couple of them. So I'm moving all these around, and I'm going to have 3 lights on several of the shelves, and we can add some to it next year. These come with these little hooks that hook into the light. I use a zip tie to tie it to the rack, and then I can just hook the hook in it, and then I can slide it around where I need it. Cut off the little extra, and then you can raise and lower the lights according to how tall your seedlings are, but I'm going to start off with these pretty high. One of the things I like about these lights is that you can plug one light into another light and then plug that light into another light. And many other brands do this, so just look for that. It's one of the things that I think makes it a lot easier when you're trying to get everything all set up. So look for the ones that plug into each other.
I have them plugged into a power strip and then they hook to this timer. And then my plants won't suffer because I haven't left the lights on for 3 days straight or had them off for 2 days straight. It happens.
Well, let's go take a look at the rest of my setup.
Underneath my stainless steel table, I have some potting mix. I have some perlite. This is vermiculite. I like to use that when I start my lettuce seeds. And I have some organic seed starting mix. You can see on this side, it makes everything really handy. And then it's right here underneath my table. And as I make a mess, I can just sweep everything right off into the thing. And there's my supervisor.
And then just over to my right, I have my trash can, my extra trays, and I stashed all of those little trays and pots down on that bottom shelf.
I have all the heat mats for seed starting right here in the same area, and I could actually squeeze in one more, and I do have one more. On the metal racks, I like to put a little bit of cardboard for insulation underneath the seed mats. It makes them work a little better. You can see these things are happy, and we're getting ready to get cranking up on the seeds. We're going to start the peppers this week. So one of the things I noticed with my seed rolls is they are pretty tall. So that's why I wanted to have more space up here. So as things matured, I could move them up. However, I can see I'm going to run out of space really soon. So one thing I might do is come in, I dread it though, but take out one of these shelves, or just move them down, but probably take out one of these shelves so I can have two shelves that are tall, or I can come over here to this shelf because of the height of this shelf and put some lights right here and utilize and not have to take this big shelf apart. But then I'd have to buy 2 more lights, but I wouldn't have to take this big shelf apart. It's probably what I'll do. Now let's take a quick look at the fig and elderberry cuttings and the seeds that we've been overwintering in the refrigerator.
My husband saved me some acorns from his favorite tree, and it's a willow oak. So the way that works is the acorns need to have a cold period, just like they were outside in the winter. So I put these in a real soft mixture of like a potting mix and some vermiculite, and I put them in the refrigerator to pretend like they were outside all winter. And then I'm just going to take them out. I'm just going to take a paper towel and place it in this plastic bag, and then I'm going to get it nice and wet. And we're just going to place the little acorns in there, and we're going to put them in a warm spot so that they can think it's spring, and hopefully they will sprout. And we basically did the same thing. Last fall, we took some cuttings from the fig tree, and I just put a damp paper towel in there, and I put them in the refrigerator. Now, there are many ways you can do this. You can do this in soil, you can do it in sand. There's so many ways, but I'm just going to do it in water. These roots super easy, and this way I can keep an eye on it and see what's going on. I'm just going to put them in the water with those little nodes pointing up, because that's where the leaves are going to grow out of. And they'll just get little roots out of the side of the branch. This is just after a few days, and you can see how green the little node is, and see the little white dots? That's where the roots will come out at. It's super easy. I did the elderberries pretty much the same way, so we'll go take a look at those in just a second. I ended up putting these down on the heat mat. I just thought the warmth might make them sprout a little faster.
Now you may notice that throughout this video, it's been videoed over a couple weeks period because I started the video and then I got sick. So I've been doing a little bit as I can, as I felt like it, but I'm all better now.
Now, as you can see, I already did these in the water just like I did with the figs, because we had these stashed in a little refrigerator down in the basement, and we got a freezer that took the place of the refrigerator. So we got rid of the refrigerator, and I didn't have room for them in my refrigerator upstairs. So I just stuck these in some water in this mason jar and put them on my windowsill, and there's one that didn't root, but everybody else rooted like crazy. And I just had it there in front of me so I could just keep adding water to it, because it really did drink up a lot of water. But these are super easy to start. Now, because these have grown so much, I'm going to get them potted up, and I'm going to use a decent sized pot so that they won't have to be repotted in between now and time when they can be planted outside. So I'm just going to gently pull these apart, but really, you're not going to mess up. These things are tough. And as you can see, that branch started off of that little stick that was in the water, and the stick is dead. You can see it's dry. You can cut that off. You can leave it on. It won't hurt anything. You can start these so easy. The elderberry is one of my favorite bushes that I grow. It's very medicinal, and I have a couple videos, one on elderberry syrup and how I make that, and then one on the elderflower. So I will link those in the description if you're interested in checking those out. If you're not familiar with elderberry, I think you'd love it. But the elderberry just starts rooting out the side of the branch. That's what I was talking about earlier. The fig does the exact same thing. They're super easy to start. And we're going to get these up on the top shelf over here. That's one of the reasons I added a few extra lights, because I knew I would have some of these tall things that were going to hang around for a while until it got warm enough outside. So that leads me to why I use the seed rolls, because it saves so much space. So let's get these watered and on the shelf, and then get some of these things condensed down into a seed roll, and I'll show you how that saves so much room. I'm just going to recycle this Amazon bag, and they work great actually. But if you're not familiar with this, I have other videos where I talk about the seed rolls. I'll link that. You can go check that out. We're going to be able to do 2 rolls with that one bag. I have some pre-moistened soil. We're just going to line it up pretty thick on this bubble wrap. And I am going to take my artichokes that I started, because they were going to need to be potted up, and there's quite a few of them. And if I put these in individual pots that support their root system, it would take up quite a bit of space on my shelf. So the seed rolls, how that works is these give them plenty of room to get a good root structure, and I do have other videos on that. But you can see that in those little pots, the roots just go round and round, and they would do the same thing in a bigger pot. You can see they just kind of circle around. So this root structure will have time to get really happy in this small space, believe it or not. And I'm going to be able to get, I don't know if there's 8 or 9 of these artichokes in here, and yeah, I think they'll really thrive. I am going to take a risk on it, but I've done this with so many other things that I'm really confident in this method, so we will see. But 9 artichokes are going to take up about a 6-inch square space, so maybe 8 inches square. Easy. I'm going to come in and put a little more soil back on top of these roots, and then we're just going to roll it up. And if at any time they get bigger and I feel like they need some more soil, it's super easy. You just unroll the roll, add a little more soil, and roll it back up. I love this method. I'm just gently and firmly rolling this up. You don't want to do it too firmly because it'll just squish it out the other end. And then I'm just going to tape it up. And you can see I've got a nice amount of soil in there, and believe it or not, it's plenty. The roots will get really long and really deep, and they'll take up nutrients from the bottom. Now I will fertilize these with I use a Neptune's, it's I think a fish emulsion and kelp. I like to use that on my seedlings, and I dilute it. And I'm struggling here. There we go. That'll work. Just kind of pack them down in there, make sure everything's tucked in real well. And that's it. And there you are. 8 or 9 artichokes, hardly taking up any room. Now this is the hibiscus. I did a video on that in the vitamin C video earlier, and look at these roots on this thing. So I think these will really do well too, because their roots can just go crazy in this. So I do exactly the same thing, and I'm able to get all of these in here and again save a lot of space. Now, as soon as we get this wrapped up, we will take a look at the sweet potatoes, see how they're doing, and maybe cut off another slip or two. They're looking pretty good, and we still have plenty of time. This is the purple sweet potato. It's just starting to take off. A little too short yet to cut any slips off, but we still have some here on the orange sweet potato. I think I can cut one off. I'll just snip off 2 of the leaves and pop it in the water with the other ones. And look, they're already rooting. I mean, it's super fast. Now we'll just put these back over on the heat mat, keep them watered, and before you know it, we'll have plenty. So over here I have some seeds that I've saved, and I just put them in paper bags. Here are more seeds. I keep my seeds in these boxes. They come in these nice little, they're photo boxes that you can get at Hobby Lobby and Michael's. And then I have some home saved mullein seeds. We got to get that started. I'm way late on that. And then I've already pulled what I want to get working on this next week in this container. What I'm starting next is going to be some kales and some broccoli, some cabbages, and I'm going to go ahead and soak my pepper seeds, and I want to sprout those before I get those started. So that's going to probably happen in the next few days. And you all had some great questions in my rendering beef tallow video, and I want to do a part 2 where I answer a lot of those questions. So look for that later this week. And I thank you all so much for hanging out with me. My name's Loanna, and this is Little Bit of Homestead.